slow cookers. A little bit of history there, everybody calls them crock pots, but the true name in the culinary industry is a slow cooker. It is a great vessel for cooking. It is absolutely awesome if you don't know how to cook. And if you do know how to cook, it is absolutely awesome. And if you're a personal chef, it is absolutely awesome. There are so many things, and it is so versatile, so many cooking methods you can actually do with this thing. You can braise, you can simmer, you can boil, you can reheat, although I don't really suggest that. You can braise, so tons of things you can do with this. A little bit about the slow cooker. The reason it's called the slow cooker is most things cook between 4 and 8 hours in there.
Didn't she tell us to turn our phone off?
So it's still between 4 and 8 hours in there. If you don't have a slow cooker and want to go out and buy one, I suggest you getting the ones that have the piece, the actual piece that comes out. It's much easier to clean, much easier to store, and you can actually take that thing out and microwave it if you want to. So, just a little bit of history about that. I've made a meatball dish here today. It's a Moroccan meatball dish. I made it with ground beef. The recipe also calls that you can do it with lamb. I personally like it better with lamb, but I went ahead with ground beef today. So there's some, most people, or some people out there aren't really fond of lamb. So, or you can combine the two. So whatever you want to do there. A little bit about cooking with this. Some tips that I would give you. First of all, safety tip. Remember the number 140. That is really the temperature that the bad bacteria stops growing at. So that is it's kind of a safety number there. And when cooking with these, especially if you're putting in cold things, you want to make sure that it is above 140 degrees within the first 3 hours. So good cooking tip, even though you'll find recipes that say cook on low, I always try to start everything on high for 1 hour. Unless, of course, you have to go to work and you're going to start it, then it's okay. But just for safety purposes and making sure that it gets above that 140 degrees. Your low temperature, when you set it, is going to be at 200. That's what it's going to cook at, so that's why it takes so long to get up there. Your high temperature is 400. So that's why, basically, your high temperature things will cook in half the time. So most meats on low temperature are going to cook between 6 and 8 hours. Most meats cooked on high temperature are going to cook between probably 3 and 5 hours. So there are lots of great information out on the internet right now. If you just go out there and punch in crock pot or slow cooker, you can get directions on how to do anything. There are tons of recipes out there. You can go to food.com, Epicurious, or just even put in crock pot on the internet, and you can find out tons of information out there. Everything you need to know, recipes for pork, beef, seafood. You can make desserts in this thing, so it is very versatile and very easy to use. Basically, you just put everything in there and you turn it on and you walk away. When cooking with a crock pot, it cooks best if you keep everything at, up to, you want to get it above halfway with the food that's in it, in the vessel, and not above 3/4. It doesn't cook properly once you get it above 3/4. What other good things are about this? This is excellent for, the things you're going to cook in here can be made very economically, because the meats that you want to put in here should be things like pork shoulder and pork chops that aren't the big, thick, giant things. You shouldn't be putting filet mignon It should be meats that have a little connective tissue to them. Your stew meats are great, the stuff you buy in the store. Again, your chuck roast, pot roast, pork shoulder I love. I usually like to brown my meat in a pan before. It is not mandatory, but it does create a lot of flavor. And even more, if you even put a little coating of flour on the outside, brown it in a saute pan, and then take the meat and put it in, and then actually deglaze your pan. Does everybody know what deglaze means? You would take some sort of liquid. You can use wine, you can use a little vinegar, you can even use water, you can use whatever stocks that you're going to use. But that actually, there's a lot of flavor that's in the bottom of that pan. And just pour that liquid into the crock pot, and that actually enhances the flavor. And as it cooks, and you want to, if you want things to like thicken up or you want your flavors to increase, the last hour, if you're cooking on high, take your lid off and everything will kind of condense down. Some of the liquid will evaporate out and your flavors will actually condense there. And you got to watch out when you're using spices in this thing, especially pepper spices, chili powders, garlic powders. They will intensify as they cook in there. So, and also if you get into some of the peppers will actually, if you're cooking them over long periods of time, 7 or 8 hours, they actually turn a little bit bitter. So what I like to do is actually do a lot of the seasoning in the back half of the cooking. You use, it will certainly help, especially your leafed spices. If you're putting in oregano and basil and stuff like that in a crock pot and you're cooking it for 8 hours, you're going to lose a ton of that flavor. So you want to put in all your leaf spices and stuff like that, your tarragons, oreganos, whatever you put in toward the end of your cooking within the last 2 hours. And again, with your seasonings like your garlic salts and your onion salts and stuff like that, really need to kind of go in at the end there. But other than that, like I say, it's very economical. It's great for people who are on a budget and people who have time constraints in their day. It's really, you stick it on and you walk away and then you come back and your house smells really great and everybody's hungry and yes.
I find with cooking in the crock pot, I end up using quite a bit of leftovers to get it clean. There are some special cleaners.
Actually, if you spray it with stuff like that before you start, it will actually help a ton in that.
There's also a crock pot bag that I live and die by. You can buy the bags in the Gladwood aisle. They're just called crock pot bags, and you just take it out. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yes.
Something I do is I fill it with water and then put a little bit of detergent that I put into my dishwasher and let it set, and it just wipes off.
Yeah, that's great for cleaning windows too. How old is it? The history? Well, it had to start with electricity, so I think it got popular in the 70s. It's probably around in the 60s.
I was going to say 60s. Yeah. I remember it when I was a kid, so a long time.
They've gotten better though. They're a lot more consistent.
Babies in here.
Okay, so I actually
There's a lot of babies. I want that.
Yeah, I'm going to do a question and answer at the end there.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, the one thing about the crock pot too, because that's an older model, right?
Yes, it is.
So the one thing to remember, like if you have a crock pot, like your mother's crock pot, like an older model, they tend to cook at a lower temperature. The modern ones, like one that you're going to buy in the last 5 years, they cook at a higher, their highs are really high, whereas the high on that one is going to be more like the low setting on a modern day crock pot.
The high is still pretty good.
Is it pretty high?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
I have a brown one just like that.
It is, but the crock pot technology has come a long way. And again, you'll buy it, it hasn't, the good ones that have an insert, they go down in, your heating elements all on the side, and it heats from within.